It's another Thursday night. This is supposed to be a Q&A for folks in the Crypto 101 group if they join us to be able to answer or ask their questions. But we'll get that momentum going there. But
Yep.
for now, it's just you and I jamming on what's been going on in the world of crypto, which has been a busy week.
Man, you hit the nail on the head last week talking about Silvergate.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just the beginning.
And did you see that one of the heads of Silvergate is Barney Frank?
Oh, no, I did not see that.
who was paid $1 million to ease the regulations that he wrote in response to the 2008 financial crisis.
Right.
So
Frank Dodd, right?
Yep, the Dodd-Frank, yeah.
Dodd-Frank, sorry.
Russell Brand covered it pretty good in the video today. I mean, straight up, dude takes $1 million, crashes the bank, and the guy on Timcast yesterday, was his name Benny Johnson or something, the guy who was handing out money in East Palestine, Ohio. He was talking about how this was purposefully done by the bank's investors just so that they could earn a couple more points by doing this.
Right. Yeah, that's the part that so again, for folks that don't know what we're talking about the last week events where we've had 2 or 3 banks, at least in the US, that have gone insolvent, and Credit Suisse in Sweden that's on the verge too. I'm not sure if it completely went over yet or not, but
ECB halted all kinds of stuff today. Yeah, and trading and moving money has been halted all over the world this week.
Yep. And so, it's forced me to do some learning beyond, what I knew. You hear the headlines, there's a bank run. Well, what does that mean? Bank goes insolvent versus illiquid. What's the difference there? And so, it forced me to do some learning beyond what I knew as well. Because, for the most part, I don't really care. I mean, I do, but I don't. Meaning, I already knew that banks, the banking system as we know it, is a Ponzi scheme. Let's just say what it is, right?
Yeah.
And that if you're going to be involved in a Ponzi scheme, well, you have to do so at your own risk, and you only have to do, and you can only afford to do that based on, what you believe you could risk to lose, right? And so, so there's a little bit of, at least on my part, where it's like, do I understand it? I wasn't an econ major. I don't, some of these things I don't know. But this week I've, forced myself to learn a little bit more than what I did before. So,
well, that's actually something that we should talk about. And you went through college and became a doctor, and at no point did they give you any kind of financial instruction.
Nope.
This stuff is not meant for normal people. They hide it like secrets to the occult, man. I mean, they write down how to invest, and it's like hidden in the Ark of the Covenant in that warehouse.
Right.
That,
Yeah. Well, there's how to invest, and then there's how to
game the system.
Right. There you go.
When you become the house, the casino house, you always win. When your bank goes insolvent, hey, you just get taxpayer money. Right. When your bank doesn't get insolvent, you're still getting money.
Yeah. So we can talk a little bit about that as much as we can, intelligently tonight around. So, I think going back to your point, I saw a Senator Kennedy, I believe, out of Alabama, got his time on the floor and explained from his perspective what went on. And I listened to that. I listened to it a couple different times. And by the way, he's not from that Kennedy family, so I had to look that up. He's not from Joe Kennedy's family, but he is Senator Kennedy out of Louisiana nonetheless, or Alabama, I can't remember, one of those 2 states. But he said that the the banking regulators have actually been issuing their concerns about what was going on at Silicon Valley Bank over a year now.
Yep.
And so there is this part of, the system doesn't work, that, the audits and the regulators aren't doing their job. Well, they actually were in this point for this situation, and they were allowed to continue, with business as usual. And I think that plays into part of
Because
that
they bought the guy who made the rules off for $1 million.
Right.
I mean, this wasn't an accident. This was
Right.
deliberate malfeasance to loot the National Treasury.
Right.
And they got away with it.
Yep.
I mean, we expected this to go to Congress. Last Friday, Steve Bannon was saying, Monday morning, we'll be tight. Monday morning, it was all done. The checks were
5
sent.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yep. 5 minutes from Biden, there's nothing to worry about.
Yep.
My Porsche is in the garage.
Hunter's got plenty of Parmesan cheese.
Right. 5-minute speech. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I heard today that they're forcing Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, and I can't remember, there's another big bank. They're forcing them to dump $5 million each into the SVB. So that's how the bailout is going to come. They're forcing banks that basically borrowed money for nothing, and they're telling them to invest money in there to bail it out. That's also interesting, right?
Yeah. People, the main thing about crypto, Bitcoin especially, it's decentralized, and the central bank is centralized. It is a single point of failure, and it's that single point of failure that has seemed to attract greed and stupidity at levels previously unknown by the entire human race.
So we can talk about what happened. And I think the way that I'm going to talk about it, I'm not necessarily hearing, right? And so when COVID hit, one of the things that the Fed did was reduce, interest rates down to zero, which basically allowed people to be lent money, as free money. Just, let the money printer go. Free money, free money, free money. Well, banks then, so you have a 0% interest rate, and that's how banks borrow or got that money from the federal government. Banks are going to do what banks are going to do, and so they turn around and invest that free money into vehicles that are going to generate a return or a yield, and that's how supposedly that's how a bank's supposed to make money. So
they loaned it out for interest.
Right. And so SVB had a significant amount of their deposits invested in treasury bills. And typically treasury bills are viewed as a safe investment. A T-bill gives you so you lock up $100, let's just talk real people money. You lock up $100, you can lock it up for a month, 3 months, 5 months, up to a year. I believe a year is, maybe there's more. Maybe it's a 3 year that you can lock it up. And so SVB had millions and billions of dollars locked up in these T-bills, and which when interest rates were zero, if they're getting 2-3% interest, that's great. That's what they want to do, right? And
but now interest, it's been raising 50 basis points every other month for how long now? And then not to mention the inflation with that.
Right.
I mean, we're looking at holding cash is the quickest way to lose money right now.
So SVB had all this money invested in T-bills that were paying this amount of interest. And again, for the long stretch, that was great because the interest rate that the Fed set was zero, right? And so they're doing what they're supposed to do. Well, people said that that you can't hold the interest rate at zero for as long as we did. But the reason why they did that is because it basically allows them to print money for free without immediate consequence for it, other than inflation, right? And so you're right, you had inflation, eroding the value of money. Then all of a sudden they realize that, oh, we've kept this at zero for way too long. So now we got to play catch up, which is what you were talking about. Now all of a sudden, 50 basis points, time and time again. So now the Fed's paying 6% interest. So they're going from 0 to 6%. So all those T-bills that SVB had now become not worthless, but they're
liabilities.
They're liabilities, yeah.
Yep.
And so then people realize that, and this is the other thing with Peter Thiel, he's being indicated in this, that he said, hey, SVB is way over invested in T-bills, and if and when the Fed raises its rate, they're going to be in trouble. You got to get your money out now. And that's what happened. So everybody went to SVB, get my money, and it forced SVB, in order to be able to cash out people's withdrawals, to sell their investments at a loss. That's basically what happened. So that they were over invested in T-bills. Looked like a good idea at the time. Apparently the regulation standard should have held them accountable for this, and this is what I was talking about. For a year now, the audits have been saying, hey, this is not a good
they did not do this out of ignorance. They knew every step of the way exactly what was going to happen.
Yep. And then we know that they paid out bonuses to a slew of employees on that Friday.
Just hours before regulators stepped in.
Yeah. People that were higher up in the organization were selling their stock, to the tune of millions.
Oh, and for the entire week or maybe two beforehand, yeah. Yep.
So that tells you right there that they knew what was coming.
Yeah. And that's because this is what the regulations in our system will always cause, that we will always come back to this. Our whole fiat system is a house of cards. There's nothing supporting it. It will always be worthless.
Yep.
And just, especially once they go now, use this as an excuse to bring in Fed coin, dude, we're all poor forever, because you cannot save. You cannot save money that has an expiration date.
Yep. So that's basically what a run on the bank means, is that people were lining up to withdraw their money, which then, if they don't have
it means, on hand. Yeah, it means something different now than what it did before March 2020. In March 2020 is when they did the infinite fractional reserve system, where beforehand, for you deposit $100, they could lend out, 90 of it. They had to keep 10 around, something like that. And it just got less and less and less until now they don't have to keep anything around. Yeah, all right. Money is fake. The only thing that causes a bank run now is that they don't have enough printed off money. But right. Most people don't need that. They just want, from these, what they think are failing banks, right. They just transfer their money over to another bank, and that's all done by computer.
Yeah.
And so, and most of our lives up until recently, a bank run meant that people were withdrawing more money than what the bank actually had.
Right.
And that's just not the case anymore.
Yeah. So, was it orchestrated? Was it planned?
Yeah.
It definitely looks like they're, whether it was planned for this date at this time, I don't know. But is the ripcord there?
This is just the same playbook that we saw over and over again.
The same playbook.
Yeah. This started off with the Bushes and the Moore machine with Cheney and Rumsfeld and the games they played there, and then they just got continued on steroids underneath Obama and Biden.
Yep.
And we had a 4-year break, which we aren't allowed to talk about, but that really showed us all just how corrupt everything is.
So one of the byproducts of all this is that people moved their money into Bitcoin, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, this is exactly why Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin, for this express reason right here. And this is why I hope this is finally the decoupling event, the one that everybody's been waiting for, because for so long, Bitcoin has been viewed as a tech stock, just a real volatile tech stock, when in fact it's the bridge to a better future.
Yep. So as the concern about, and it's not just the US banks, it's the global banks, right? Like you were saying.
Yeah, they've all been ran by the same people for quite some time.
Sure, right. And so as the global concern started to really peak really fast around what was going to, how many more banks were going to fail, we saw a lot of money. So we're up over $1 trillion now, $1 trillion market cap in crypto right now, where, at its peak in the last bull run, we were just shy of 3 trillion. And then we've been sitting at, between 600 and 800 billion. And so now we're back over, I think I heard 1.3 trillion is where the crypto market cap is today, which is
it's so nice. I mean, what is Bitcoin right now? Is 2590?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so nice to see my portfolio in double digits again.
Right.
Yeah.
So because of that concern about the banking system, not just in the US, but around the globe, a bunch of money went back to Bitcoin, and specifically Bitcoin too, right? I mean, let's be real about that.
Bitcoin is digital gold. It's where you want your long-term savings.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, today, we've been seeing a little bit of a pump happening. And before I got on here, I was trying to see what people were saying about that. So apparently, it's responsible because of what Binance has been doing. Did you see any of that chatter lately?
No, I haven't actually, no. I just got the last of the stuff up to Rumble today.
Yeah. So Binance, apparently, because we know that, BUSD is under attack, and Binance had decided to set aside a recovery fund, and they, I believe, what I heard is, I want to hear $1 billion, I think. So they took $1 billion worth of BUSD, and they bought Bitcoin, Ethereum, and one other, I can't remember which one it was, but that they bought. They basically took $1 billion and pumped it into the crypto market. So transferred their stable coin into the crypto market today.
Nice. That was a really smart idea.
Yeah, and there, it's I was hearing somebody else talk about it, that that's what it was. So like if a centralized exchange goes down and then people lose their Bitcoin, well, they're going to want to be repaid in Bitcoin. They're not going to want to be repaid in Ethereum or a stable coin. They want their Bitcoin back, right? And so that's one of the reasons why we think that CZ made that move. CZ being, the person behind, Binance and BNB, to, have a cache of Bitcoin on the ready, to make people whole again in Bitcoin and not have to go through a bunch of swaps and trades in order to get there. So, but that's what I'm hearing is what's going on as of the last handful of hours today. This is March 16th, 2023. So BUSD, Binance swapping their BUSD stablecoin into Bitcoin. And that's kind of where we're seeing this pump as of last.
An interesting move with Ethereum, since we're a week and a half, 2 weeks away from the Shanghai upgrade.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think a lot of people are predicting that, when it floods, the price will be cheap. But I think a lot of people are going to intend to pick it up when it's that cheap.
Right. Well, you're one of them, but there's a bunch of people that have their Ethereum locked up, right? Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see when that becomes available, how many people are going to hold it or how many people are going to sell it.
Well, and I actually have no idea yet, but if this was a fork, then I think people like me should have both.
Right.
the proof of work and proof of stake.
Right.
And so I will probably want to get rid of the proof of stake and put the proof of work back to work for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So, what did I hear? Shanghai update happening in April. Is that what I heard?
Well, I'd been reading last week of March.
Last week of March. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and that, and you know, this is where I was ignorant. I thought that it was all done with. That the
Well, they started. They've had many little test processes and
yeah,
little nudges along the way.
right.
So it's been a long road, man, because I've been staked up for well over a year.
Right.
I am happy with the interest I got on Kraken,
Mhm.
and I felt that Kraken was secure. It was one of those exchanges
Yeah.
that wasn't going to get busted up by a regulator.
Yep. Yeah,
Although
Kraken's one of the
yeah,
OGs, right? Doing things the right way for the right reasons. Yep.
they did get the shakedown, but you know, not everybody can be Gary Gensler's best buddy.
Right.
Right, Coinbase?
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
Or an
absolutely.
in-law like Sam Bankman-Fried.
Absolutely. So that's what's been going on, and you know what you're seeing, especially on social media and on YouTube. You know, you're seeing a lot of highlights and titles. You know, crypto's going to zero, banks are going to fail. You're seeing all those things, and that's all clickbait. That's also, people know that if they put that on, you know, as their titles of their videos and whatnot, then people are going to click. And I guess I don't blame them for that. But
Bitcoin going to 13,000?
right, and that's Gary Soloway. I was just looking at him, watching him just before I got on here. That's his big prediction, is that, you know, we're still going to hit 9,000. We're going to hit 9,000 with Bitcoin. All right. So, and it isn't, you know, in the way that I go about it and the way that I've been taught and trained and mentored to go about it is, okay, if it goes to $9,000 this year, I'm okay with that. Right. Do I want it? No, I don't want it to go to 9,000. Right. But I'm not in this, you know, to make money this year. Right. It's time in the market is always going to be superior to timing the market. And, you know, part of what we're doing here, we've got both of our entities up. You've got our Ultimate Crypto up, and I've got DeFi Crypto University. Is you have to go into this with a appropriate time frame, and a year's time is never going to be an appropriate time frame, right?
Well, I don't think people are grasping that. Right now, this is the bridge. This is when the old system is being torn down, and people are going to have no choice but to come to the new system. And if they don't take control of learning what that means, take control of their own financial future, they're just going to be guided into a cattle chute of FedCoin and live the rest of their life off of Walmart, Mountain Dew, and Domino's.
Right. Yep. You're absolutely true, and that's another reason why, you know, we've been putting out the education that we are, is so, you know, if crypto's not your thing, and, you know, for whatever reason you're not willing or able, or, you know, you don't have the desire to move money into crypto, okay, you don't have to, right? I mean, we're not twisting anybody's arm,
But
but
the people that will come after us because you don't want to, well, they will.
right.
They will twist your arm.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're going to twist your arm, but we're not, right? And but it's, you need to know what's going on. Like you said, you know, I've got, you know, 3 degrees, 2 advanced degrees, and how money works, how investing works, and how it's manipulated was not required. Not required.
Well, you know me, man. I've been a fan of history, a history nerd, like my entire life.
Absolutely.
And it's only been within like the last 4 years that I really discovered real history is the history of money. You follow the money. That's where the truth is. Same thing like we do in crimes. You follow the money. And well, if we follow the money in this government, all we see are crimes. And I'm not talking about a particular administration. I'm talking about all of them since the Federal Reserve was created.
Yep. Yeah. 30 pieces of silver, right? Follow the money. Follow the money. Yep. Yep. Yeah. And so, if you have your head on your shoulders and you understand, market cycles, yeah, it's not fun to go through a market cycle where your choice of investments, isn't doing so hot, right? But just understanding that if you're invested in something that you firmly believe in and give it enough time, chances are you're going to be just fine, right? So don't fall for these. I mean, if hear this loud and clear, as much as Eli and myself are believers in Bitcoin and believers in cryptocurrency and decentralized finance, right? Don't rush into anything. I mean, don't liquidate all of your savings and then push it into Coinbase tomorrow. Don't do that. That's not smart, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah. So take your time.
Yeah. And Bitcoin is never a short term. If you're trying to make money in the short term off of Bitcoin, especially by leverage, you're going to get wrecked. You will get wrecked.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you're concerned about your money in the traditional system, in the traditional finance world, and you should be, right? You should be concerned about that. The best thing that you can do is to get educated, and that's exactly what our sister projects are doing, is providing the education out there so that people can understand blockchain, they can understand decentralized finance, they can understand where the value for a cryptocurrency actually comes from. So take your time, keep your money as safe as possible, but then start learning, and then when you are ready, you're going to be able to make a much better decision for what to do should crypto be the thing that you want to do. And I mean, I think that everybody should have some level of knowledge and understanding of blockchain and what crypto is. Otherwise, CBDC, like you were talking about, CBDCs are going to come out, which are the central bank
digital currency,
right? And like you said, they can put a time limit on it, right? They can say,
CBDCs are not money; they are a tool of slavery and control. This isn't a political speech. This is in actuality what they are.
Yeah.
And that's why people need to educate themselves. Knowledge is power. You want to earn more, learn more, like Zig Ziglar always says.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to protect yourself. I mean, seek knowledge above gold and silver. Hey, we got Ron's coming in.
Nice. Well, it's like, what was it, back in the late 80s or 90s, if I remember, early 90s, if I remember it, where, Russia had to pay their employees in vodka.
Yeah, that would have definitely been 90s, because didn't they collapse Christmas Day 95?
I don't know. Yeah, but remember, it's that same idea. Okay, we're going to pay everybody in vodka. Well, okay, great, but what is that actually worth, right? I mean, it's something they had access to, and they had enough to disperse in terms of ration it out to employees, but you could only do so much with vodka, right? I guess you could light it on fire if you needed to, but
but if you're dead broke, at least you got some vodka.
Some vodka, right? Yeah, it's what the CBDC. You can't even get a buzz off.
Yeah, I was gonna say the CBDC. They'll let you get discounts on CBD.
Right. Yeah.
That's what they'll do.
So there's plans for this too. I mean, no crystal ball, but you know, uh, universal basic income, you know, does the advent of a CBDC make that more of a reality and more of a possibility? It absolutely does, right?
And expect the rules of that to go the DEI route.
Yeah, yeah. Reparations is what you're talking about, right? If we
Yeah, I was watching Tim Pool break down the reparations in San Francisco today,
oh,
and they've even at like a quarter or something underneath the estimated amount of people, they'd have to shell out more than what their annual budget is for like 40 years. But when money doesn't mean anything anymore, like it does now, and
right.
it's just a computer thing that they put out there, well, they'll be able to do that just fine.
And that's what we're talking about. Where you know, do this. You know, if they change the way that taxes are collected, right? And they say, oh, taxes are going up 3.5% because we need to fund, CBDCs, right? Well, what does that mean? Well, part of the education that we're trying to put out there is so that you are aware of that. You are aware of exactly what that is, and why they're doing it and what it actually means. And there's a lot of ways. I mean, they could put a sales tax instantly and to fund CBDCs, right? And so
I've seen a lot of talk about this over the years, and there's a lot of people claiming that, what is it, Stellar Lumens is going to be one of the blockchains that it could be built on. A lot of people are saying XRP. I mean, that was the whole appeal of XRP, is that it's going to be the bad guy.
yeah. Or Ethereum, I know that you've been
The new Ethereum proof of stake, yes. Yeah, it could be that too. But what I really think is what they'll do is make the CBDC like a bridge to crypto. So you'll have USDC, but to cash it out or use the places, you have to change it to FedCoin.
There you go. Yeah.
You know, and so it'll go back and forth. But then they might not let you go directly from FedCoin to Bitcoin.
Right. Yeah, and so then it's the same thing that's happened with, and again, it's the same thing that's happened with other forms of public assistance, right? Where you see a pizza joint that will say, we're here.
We take EBT.
Yeah, we take EBT, and so it'll be we take CBDC, right?
Yep.
And you can't blame those shop owners for doing it because they're struggling.
It's an income stream, yeah.
It's an income stream, right? And so, yeah. I remember. I have a story about this. I remember in the first house that we lived in, and I mean, younger in our careers, my wife and I, and whatnot, and definitely living a blessed life for sure, but at the same time, having to roll with the punches, so to speak, when things go your way or don't go your way financially, and I remember with the steak truck, which was like a converted mail Jeep, or that had a refrigerator compartment on it, would come rolling through, and they stop at your house and, hey, buy some steak, and there was like 3 or 4 times the price of what you could buy meat for or steak for at the grocery store, depending on what store you're going to, right? It's like, so we'd always say no, sorry, but we can't buy your overpriced steak. And I remember one day I was in the garage tinkering on something, and I saw the Jeep go up the street, and 15-20 minutes it's back up, and it's pulling into my driveway, and the guy gets out, and he's like, I'll make you a good deal on this, I don't have very much, and I don't want to store it in my truck for overnight, blah blah blah, yada, because then I gotta keep the refrigeration going. I don't want to do that, so I'll make it a good deal. And I'm like, well, what's a good deal? And it was like a vacuum pack pack of fillets, right? Filet mignons, and it was still like way expensive. Like, I just can't do that. And I said, were you just up at that 2 houses up at the Blue House? Oh yeah, I'm there every week. They buy for me. That was a Section 8 house, and I knew that they were using EBT to pay for that steak, right? It's like son of a gun, right? And because that's going to be the same thing CBDC, right? You're going to give it out, and people are going to be like, "Hey, I've got it. I'm going to spend it," and they have no idea, where it came from, how it got put on, whatever they're going to use, their smartphone, or who knows what the delivery system is going to be. But we've been here, we've seen this show before, right? We've seen this movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one of the reasons why they are planning on giving so much money to people that they believe will specifically spend it and go through it right away, and ultimately end up in more debt, needing another handout. It's just going to be another form of control.
Yeah. Now, and there are, there is some potential upside to it, better than what we kind of have now, but and that's what we will be pushed in our faces. In terms, they're going to tell us the upside to it all, but they're not going to admit to or show us.
Oh, they're going to call it green. Yeah, and they're going to say if you don't like CBDC, you're a climate denier.
Right. Or you don't care about the plight of the less fortunate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are some plus sides, and this is there's no necessarily right answer to anything. There's a set of pros and cons, right? But so you'll hear things like the current system with EBT allows people to defraud the system, because they can use it here, they can use it there. One of the benefits of the blockchain is how instantaneous it is, right? Even the slowest transaction, and we're talking about blockchain transaction, unless you're caught in a bridge, but outside of that, the slowest transaction, we're talking about a few minutes, right? So again, we're in Oregon, so we can talk about what happens in Oregon, but our public assistance comes on an EDT card, right? And it's called the Oregon Trail card. And every year, tens of thousands of dollars of those EBT cards are coming through places like casinos. They're coming through places like strip clubs, and they're coming through the ATMs that are there in those places, right? And they can't stop it, because if they can't turn it off in those locations and then not turn it off in other locations, right? Well, with blockchain, you're going to be able to do that, right? You're going to be able to cut those things off. Point of sale, you're going to be able to say not here, not there. You're going to be able to say, this is scary, right? So if you look at what should be in a meal plan, let's say, right, that this money is supposed to deliver you so many grams of protein, so many grams of carbohydrates, so many grams of fat. Well, the blockchain is powerful enough, and I believe that it could track, like, okay, you've used your money and you haven't bought enough protein, or you've bought too much carbs, or you're buying way too much fat, and it can start denying the purchases based on that.
Yep, exactly. You've had too many bags of Cheetos this month. You can't buy this one.
You can't buy them. Yep.
Not this bag of Oreos.
Yep.
And where it's going to be used first is, you've already filled up your gas tank once this month. You don't need to fill it up a second time.
Right.
You're like, not even for work? Nope.
Yep. And what I'm saying is that the positive end of that is what's going to be shoved in our face, but the freedom eroding side of it is what's going to happen if we aren't smart about it, right?
Well, and it's going to take education, but we are in a society that idolizes ignorance. I mean, they will always choose ignorance and laziness. Not everybody, but the vast majority. That's all we've seen. Our media, our culture, they promote it. Meritocracy is frowned upon. I mean, well, actually, they hate you now if you believe in meritocracy. Freedom of speech. I mean, all that stuff is gone. that old culture is not something I want to support at all, or even be a part of. And that means stepping out of that system entirely, which mainly means fiat. Most of this culture's problems come from the love of money, and it's the love of fake money.
Fake money, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they really are. They're Chuck E. Cheese tokens. Rich people actually own the banks. You are never allowed to know who half of them are. That's by law. They get to appoint themselves, and they decide what we get to do with these little coupons. They're Chuck E. Cheese tokens. They decide how much it's worth. It's not us. It's not elected officials. It's private banksters. And it's been that way ever since George Hearst.
Yeah.
A lot of this does come back from the ravaging of the gold in North America, because that's when all these banks were being built, and these powerhouses and these fortunes.
Yeah. And, you know, I don't know, you know, Bitcoin is when you look at other blockchains, Bitcoin was the blockchain that was created, it was defined, and it was set loose without much ability to tamper with it. And Bitcoin is what Bitcoin is. Whereas the other blockchains that have been developed since then, there's backdoors, there's key holders, right? There's things that can be done to manipulate it, but not Bitcoin, which
it's decentralized. No single point of failure.
It brings you to your ultimate concern about, you know, what this government and other governments might do in terms of their attitude towards Bitcoin.
Oh, we're going to see some pretty harsh FUD for the next couple of years. But I think the more they try and FUD it, the more people are going to start realizing, wait a minute, why are these people who are lying to me about everything all day, every day, hating on Bitcoin so much? Maybe I should take a look at Bitcoin.
Right. Yeah.
I really think it'll end up doing more good in the long term.
Yeah. And for those, you know, in the Crypto 101 group who don't know what FUD means, that's fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? And so this is what you're seeing if you listen to mainstream media, you listen to anything on the mainstream media around crypto, it's all FUD, right? They're going to bring people on to interview, and they're going to say things like, crypto could go to zero at any moment, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it. Well,
and they're going to always equate Bitcoin and crypto, and they're different.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
They will come on and tell you about all the faults of crypto, and then say it's Bitcoin, and those things aren't true. Yeah. And people, unless they learn, they won't know the difference.
Right. And you know, in the last, you know, 2 months, you know, I know you and I have talked about it, where we've seen these little kind of, you know, green candles, little pumps in the crypto market. You know, nothing major, but you know, it can be, you know, exciting here and there, and with that come the scammers, right?
Yes.
It's hard to pull the scams off when the market's red and everything is downtrending, right? But these little pumps that we've seen, the scammers come out of nowhere, and that's where the fear comes, you know, like, oh my gosh, you can lose everything, and people are being scammed. Well, scams happen in traditional finance all day, every day. I mean, look at you know, Brett Favre is in trouble because he was scamming, you know, people out of old home investing in retirement home investments, right? Scams
look at Salem's bus stop. the guy who built it way out of code, and the whole thing has to be built over again. Yep. It was just a giant disaster. It was a scam.
It's a scam, right? Yep. So, you know, and here's the other thing to make sure people understand, that you know, Silvergate and SVB, those banks did not crumble because of crypto. They just happened to be, Silvergate was one of the major payment processors for crypto, and SVB was um, one of the major lending sources for anything tech related, right? But those weren't crypto related issues. They were just in banking flaws that were exploited that happened to have some ties to crypto, right? And so
They were rich guys looting the national treasury. That's all it was.
yeah.
With insider help from the Uniparty.
Right, right. And can blockchain and can Bitcoin be exploited? Potentially. The difference is that you're going to be able to follow the money in a way that is way more transparent.
Yeah. And what it is I'm not so worried about Bitcoin being exploited. It's people's understanding of it being exploited, and then the people who use it themselves being exploited.
Right. Absolutely. Right.
Because with new technology will come new ways to scam people.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's the beauty of the blockchain. And this is what people need to understand, is that the blockchain is there for anybody to look at it. It's hard to cover things up on the blockchain. So if you understand how blockchain works, you'll be able to see exactly who did what and when, and how many cookies it cost them.
Exactly. There's none of this. The reality is there is no Russian hacker threatening people's computers, getting all these millions of dollars anonymously. No, people are following every one of those dollars, and they know it's not going to a Russian hacker. It's going to some kid in California.
Right.
But the media loves to lie about it. They love to say, oh, it's for money laundering.
Right.
If it was for money laundering, politicians would love it.
Right. Yeah.
It's all they would use.
And that's Elizabeth Warren's talking points, right? I mean, and we got to give credit where credit's due. I mean, she wrote all of Obama's speeches, so we have to, she's very good at what she does.
She taught the Pilgrims how to live in harmony with their people.
Yes. He is Pocahontas. I get it. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Her and Rachel Dolezal.
Yeah. But that piece, and that somebody was just on mainstream media talking about that, and I think it was Elizabeth Warren too. About how we have to regulate crypto because it's money laundering, and it's supporting the black market and all that kind of stuff. Well, it was 5-6, and CoffeeZilla on Joe Rogan was going down this road too. Just a couple days ago. His view on crypto is curious, but when Bitcoin and blockchain was absolutely brand new and people had no idea what it was, it was exploited, right? Mm-hmm. But that exploitation is, again, easily verifiable and can be traced now, because now we have people who understand how to work that.
And that evidence is not going anywhere.
It doesn't go anywhere.
Be there for 100 years.
Right. Absolutely.
Just like the people that added things on that blockchain, like there's revenge porn on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Yeah.
There is.
Part of the new ordinals?
No, this was done way back in the day. People figured out how to add extra information. They've added little personal notes, all kinds of stuff. But one dude added revenge porn. So when Bitcoin blockchain finally starts running down, 100 years, these people will be long dead, but they're revenge porn.
New meaning to time capsules then, I guess, right?
Yeah. Man, it is interesting now, because if we are going to be a digital society forever, that's really going to change what we can remember and experience from history.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I got to get going for the night. And, one of the things that we should remind people that, it's easy for myself and Eli to get going on a conversation and start talking about things. And, if you're watching this live or you see this replay and you think, I have no idea what these guys are talking about, that's okay.
Keep going. keep going. That's how I learned. That was my entire first 3 years in crypto is I didn't understand the vast majority of a conversation.
Absolutely. And so keep going. And one of the ways that you can keep going is, we have a crypto 101 course, and
All the way set up now. Yep.
Yep. And so we'll drop the links to that in below this video, however you're watching it. And that's, part of Eli's background. That's the ultimate crypto startup. And so we got a crypto 101 course, and it's completely free. And we generated that course, and it's too bad Jeremy couldn't join us, because I really would love to give him credit for the content behind crypto 101. He's the engineer in our group, and he does a great job with those things. And but yeah, crypto 101 is going to give you the foundation to be able to hang in a conversation like you just experienced between Eli and myself. And crypto 101 was born out of our crypto 201 course, which is a introduction to decentralized finance. And we'll put links to both of those below this video. But that's really one of the things that we have done to help educate the world about blockchain and about cryptocurrency and financial sovereignty. Good stuff, Eli.
Yeah, I really don't have anything to add to that. That was perfect. What about predictions for next week? What are we going to be talking about next week?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Predictions, man. I think that we, as more details about how Silicon Valley Bank and if Credit Suisse goes down, as more details about how the bailouts for those things become public knowledge, I do see more money being moved into Bitcoin. And so, in a week's, yeah, I'm thinking that, if Bitcoin, approaches 35 or 36,000, which right now it's just under 26,000.
25.8.
25.8. So my prediction will be is I don't think it's going to dip much lower than what it is now, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it hit up over 30K in a week's time, because I think what we're going to see is more details about how the shell game and the bailouts have been in place and been enacted. And then once people understand that, you're going to see more money going into Bitcoin, because the lack of faith and trust in the traditional finance system is going to continue to fade and erode. So that's my point.
Yep, as more people educate themselves, they realize they do not want to be playing in a rigged casino anymore.
Right, yeah. So that's my prediction. I think more details of the bailouts are going to come, and that's going to spur even more money going into Bitcoin. So.
My prediction, way more FUD, because as it becomes more clear that Bitcoin is the answer, the FUD is going to increase. So watch for that from the media, and they're going to use climate change as that blunt instrument to beat you over the head with.
Yeah, that's one of the Bitcoin talking points right now too, is it's 52% clean energy, which, it's disappointing that you have to get there, but apparently Elon has been removed the ability to pay for a Tesla with Bitcoin because of the dirty energy that's involved.
But he'll take Doge.
He'll take Doge, right?
Yeah, exactly.
A report was just released that 52%, so more than 50% of the energy used to mine Bitcoin is coming from clean energy sources. So don't believe the FUD.
Yeah, and not to mention, are these not only clean energy sources, these are like renewable clean energy sources where they're actually taking methane and carbon out of the air and turning it into energy. They are doing more for Bitcoin mining than just about anybody else is.
Yep. All right, well, we'll sign off there. Always fun.
Yep, see you next week, man.
Take care.